Listen carefully, because what I'm about to share will forever change the way you understand attraction. Most men spend their entire lives chasing women, bending over backwards, constantly seeking approval, trying to prove they're good enough, only to end up confused, rejected, and alone. They follow all the advice they've been fed. Be nice, be available, be everything she wants, and yet it never quite works. But what if I told you there's a hidden switch inside every woman's mind, a psychological trigger buried deep in her subconscious that, once activated, doesn't just make her notice you, it makes her pursue you relentlessly? What if I told you that the men who grasp this truth don't just attract more women, they captivate them, command respect, spark obsession, and shift the entire dynamic of the relationship, often without saying a single word? This isn't about manipulation. It's not about trickery or deceit. This is something far more powerful. This is raw, unfiltered reality. It's the biological, psychological truth behind female desire, how it works, what activates it, and why most men never come close to understanding it. And once you do, everything changes. You stop chasing. You stop trying so hard. Instead, you become the man women are wired to want, the one they can't forget. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal the 3 forbidden psychological principles that separate the men women merely tolerate from the ones they obsess over. These aren't shallow tricks or tired pickup lines. These are deep, timeless truths rooted in science, not opinion. The same forces that have built empires, ended relationships, and created legends throughout history. But I need to warn you, what you're about to hear will challenge everything you've been taught about dating and attraction. It will flip your understanding upside down, and once you know it, once you truly see it, you can never go back to being the man you were before. The clueless, needy version of you will no longer be able to survive in the light of this truth. So if you're ready to stop being an option and start being the prize, if you're ready to understand the power that makes women invest in you, chase you, and fight to keep you, then listen closely. Do not look away, because this is where your real life begins. Let's talk about something absolutely fundamental, something so deeply rooted in human nature that ignoring it will keep you stuck in frustration, no matter how hard you try. And it's this. Women don't fall in love because of what you have. They don't fall for your money, your status, or the things you can offer on the surface. They don't fall in love because of what you do, how much effort you put in, or how well you treat them on paper. They fall in love because of how you make them feel. This isn't some gimmicky pickup trick. It's not a game. It's human psychology. It's biology. It's how we're wired as emotional beings. And if you miss this, you'll keep showing up in women's lives as nice, safe, good on paper, but never unforgettable. Think about it. When a woman reflects on the men who left a lasting impact on her, who does she truly remember? The guy who bought her extravagant gifts, the one who complimented her endlessly and never caused a ripple, or the man who made her pulse quicken, the one who kept her guessing, the one who brought out emotions she couldn't quite explain, the one who left her wondering what made him tick? That is the man who lingers in her thoughts long after he's gone. That's the man who occupies a permanent place in her emotional memory. Because at the end of the day, the heart doesn't remember logic. It remembers feeling. It remembers energy. It remembers connection. The men who stir a woman's emotions, who bring tension, curiosity, excitement, those are the ones who stand out, not the ones who try to earn her love by doing everything right. Quick break. Close your eyes for a second. Picture her, the girl you've always wanted. Feel what it would be like to actually have her. Now open your eyes, because here's the truth. Right now, you're invisible to her. You're getting outcompeted by guys with more money, better looks, higher status, and stronger game. You're playing a rigged game, and you're losing. But I've spent the last 35 years mastering this, studying, testing, and finally finding the secrets to get the girls I always wanted. You want to stop getting ignored? You want her chasing you? Then you need to wake up and act. Click the link in the comments if you are truly committed and take the first step toward becoming that guy. Few spots left. Be fast or miss out your last chance to make her yours. Let's get back to it. Now let's dig into why emotion is so much more powerful than logic when it comes to attraction. It's because emotion is the language of the unconscious mind, the part of the brain where real connection happens. You can present all the logical arguments in the world about why you'd make a great partner. You can highlight your stability, your success, your kindness, your reliability. But if she doesn't feel it, if those words don't stir anything deep inside her, it won't matter. The heart doesn't respond to credentials. It doesn't react to bullet points on a metaphorical resume. It responds to experience. It responds to energy, to tension, to the thrill of something that feels uncertain, alive, and just out of reach. This is exactly why nice guys so often finish last. Not because kindness is unattractive, but because they completely misunderstand what actually creates desire. They think, if I'm devoted, if I prove my loyalty, if I do everything right, she'll recognize my value. But desire doesn't work like that. It's not a reward for effort. It's not a transaction. It's a reaction, an emotional spark, a moment that bypasses logic and hits something primal. It's not about making sense. It's about making her feel something that she can't quite control. So what's the emotion that flips that inner switch? Anticipation. That electric sense that there's more to you than what's immediately visible. When a woman senses depth in you, when she can't completely read you or predict your next move, she starts to lean in. She starts to wonder, who is this guy really? And that curiosity becomes investment. And once she's emotionally invested, once her mind starts turning you over, analyzing, imagining, feeling, that's when real attraction begins to take hold, because now she's participating in the story. Now she's not just receiving your attention, she's giving hers. This isn't manipulation. It's not about playing games or withholding affection. It's about understanding a deeper truth. Human beings are not drawn to what's easy. They're drawn to what challenges and excites them. A relationship built solely on comfort will eventually plateau, but one built with mystery, emotional depth, and that subtle tension of anticipation. That's the kind of relationship that stays alive. That's the kind of man who stays unforgettable. A relationship built purely on comfort might feel safe in the beginning, but over time, that safety turns to stillness. And stillness turns to stagnation. But a relationship built with a touch of tension, an air of mystery, and just enough space for her imagination to wander, that's the kind of relationship that stays electric. It breathes, it grows, it lasts. So take a moment and ask yourself, are you making her think or are you making her feel? Are you just another familiar, predictable presence in her life? Or are you the one who stirs something deeper, something she can't quite explain or replicate? Because if your goal is to be unforgettable, if you want to live in her mind long after the conversation ends, that's the question that matters. That's the shift most men never make, and it's why they remain forgettable, no matter how good they are on paper. Now, once you truly understand this, everything starts to change. You stop trying to prove yourself and start focusing on creating experience. And that brings us to one of the most insidious, silent killers of attraction. Something so subtle, most men don't even realize it's working against them until it's far too late. Predictability is the slow, quiet death of intrigue. The moment a woman feels like she has you completely figured out, your thoughts, your reactions, your emotions, is the moment you start to fade in her mind. Not because she's cruel or ungrateful, but because the human brain, and the female brain in particular, is wired for novelty, emotional stimulation, and challenge. When you become predictable, you strip away all three. The mystery is gone, the emotional tension disappears, and the intrigue that once pulled her toward you fades into background noise. Think about boredom. It doesn't announce itself. It creeps in. When something becomes too familiar, too easy to understand, the brain stops engaging with it. It's not personal, it's neurological. So if you find yourself always available, always agreeable, always explaining every thought and intention, understand this. You're not being transparent, you're being forgettable. And in the world of attraction, forgettable is fatal. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and motivation, isn't triggered by what's expected. It's sparked by what's uncertain, by what keeps the mind engaged in the ongoing act of discovery. This is why routines kill passion. It's why men who reveal everything too soon, whether their feelings, their schedules, or their vulnerabilities, often end up being seen as nice but unexciting. It's not that she doesn't appreciate you, it's that you've left her with nothing left to uncover, nothing left to wonder about. Now, contrast that with the men who linger in a woman's memory long after they're gone. They weren't necessarily more handsome or more successful. What set them apart was their understanding of the power of restraint. They didn't flood her with constant attention or prematurely confess their emotions. They didn't make their entire identity revolve around seeking her approval. Instead, they created space for her imagination to fill in the gaps. And it's in that space, in that mystery, that real attraction lives. It's not about deception or playing games. It's about allowing her the freedom to wonder, to question, and to project her own ideals onto the framework you provide. When you give her room to imagine, you ignite a deeper, more compelling emotional connection. That's where desire truly takes root, beyond the surface, beyond the obvious, deep inside the mind's uncharted territory. This subtle dance of mystery and discovery is what keeps her thinking about you long after you've walked away. This is precisely why neediness is such a silent killer in attraction. A needy man is, by nature, a predictable man. He responds immediately to every text, rearranges his entire schedule to fit her whims, and constantly seeks reassurance, desperately hoping for validation. But in doing all this, he destroys the very tension that fuels the electric connection between men and women. And make no mistake, tension here isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about preserving enough independence so that your presence feels like a choice she wants to make, not a burden she has to bear. It's the difference between saying, "I'm here because I want to be," and "I'm here because I'm afraid of being anywhere else." One signals confidence, self-respect, and emotional strength, the kind of energy that's magnetic. The other signals insecurity, fear, and dependence, qualities that repel rather than attract. Now, think about the most gripping stories you've ever experienced. The books, movies, or moments in life that kept you hooked. Are they stories that lay everything out in the first chapter? Rarely. The most compelling narratives unfold gradually, rewarding patience, creating suspense, and compelling you to lean in because you have to know what happens next. You are the author of your own life story. If you give away the entire plot in your very first conversation, why would she feel any motivation to stay and discover more? But when you reveal yourself in layers, when you hold something back and hint at depths beneath the surface, that's when curiosity sparks. She begins to invest her time and energy trying to understand you, to peel back those layers. And this investment, my friend, is the cornerstone of attachment. It's what transforms casual interest into deep emotional connection, what shifts fleeting attraction into lasting desire. When you maintain that balance, showing who you are but preserving mystery, you become unforgettable. You become the kind of man she thinks about when you're not around, the kind of man who lingers in her mind and heart long after the moment has passed. That is the true power of pacing yourself, of cultivating tension, and of writing your story with patience and intentionality. So, how do you avoid falling into the deadly trap of predictability? The first step is to cultivate a life so rich, so varied, and so compelling that no single person, no matter how close, can ever fully contain or define it. When your world is expansive and full of passion, purpose, and adventure, you become inherently magnetic. She'll sense there's always more to discover about you because there is more. The second key is mastering the art of measured disclosure. This means sharing yourself deliberately in carefully paced increments, not spilling all your thoughts, emotions, and stories at once. Let your actions do the talking. Demonstrate your value through what you do, not through empty promises or constant verbal reassurance. Actions carry weight. Words, without foundation, become noise. Most importantly, maintain sovereignty over your own emotions. Never give her the impression that she has you fully figured out or completely in her grasp, because the moment she does, you stop being a mystery and become a known quantity, and known quantities don't ignite passion or obsession. They breed indifference. Here's the unvarnished truth. predictability is the greatest enemy of desire. If you want to keep her attention locked, you have to live just beyond the edge of her full understanding. Not so distant that you seem aloof or unavailable, but always just a little ahead, keeping her intrigued and invested. Give her just enough to keep her curious, to keep her coming back for more, wondering what you'll reveal next. That's how you stay unforgettable. That's how you create a magnetic presence that refuses to fade into the background of her life. So go out there and give her something she can't predict, because the moment she starts predicting you, you lose the power to captivate. Let's cut straight to the heart of what separates the men who are merely liked from those who are genuinely desired, the difference between being an option and becoming the prize. This isn't about arrogance or playing mind games. It's about grasping a fundamental truth rooted in human psychology and social dynamics. Value is always determined by scarcity, whether that scarcity is real or perceived. When you position yourself as someone who chooses, someone who has standards and won't settle, rather than someone who pleads to be chosen, everything changes. Your energy shifts, your presence shifts, the way women respond to you shifts. This isn't a trick. It's a natural consequence of how we assign worth in every aspect of life. Consider the rare painting that commands millions at auction, or the limited edition car that becomes a prized collector's item, or the exclusive club that gains its allure precisely because not everyone is allowed in. The same exact principle applies to you. When you make yourself scarce, emotionally, socially, and mentally, you instantly become more valuable. But if you're constantly available, always accommodating, endlessly signaling that her attention is the most important thing in your world, you become the opposite, a commodity. And commodities, they get used, taken for granted, and ultimately discarded without a second thought. True emotional sovereignty means owning your time, your attention, and your desires. It means living life on your own terms, showing up because you want to, not because you need to. It means being someone who women want to earn, not someone who chases approval. When you embody this, you stop being just another guy in the crowd. You become the prize, the man who commands respect, fascination, and genuine desire. Now, contrast that with a man who truly knows his own worth, who is not defined by the approval or rejection of any single woman because his value is rooted in something far deeper, a strong, unwavering sense of self. This man lives by a mission and a set of principles that transcend fleeting emotions or external validation. His focus is on growth, purpose, and becoming the best version of himself, rather than chasing after someone else's approval or settling for crumbs of affection. He sets clear boundaries and standards, not because he wants to manipulate or control, but because he respects himself enough to demand respect from others. This isn't cold indifference or arrogance. It's a quiet, grounded confidence that radiates from within. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't shout or boast, but simply exists, solid and unshakable. And this kind of self-assurance is magnetic. It creates a subtle tension, an intriguing energy that naturally draws people in. When a woman encounters this type of man, she can't help but wonder, what is it about him that's so different? What does he know or feel that I don't? That question ignites curiosity and fascination. It plants a seed of emotional investment that grows stronger with every interaction. This is the difference between being someone who is merely liked and someone who is deeply desired. Here's a truth many men overlook. Women don't test men to be cruel, petty, or difficult. These tests aren't games played to cause frustration or confusion. Rather, they are instinctual behaviors rooted in biology. Women are wired to seek out strength, stability, and security because these qualities historically ensured survival and a trustworthy partnership. When she tests your reactions, whether by pushing boundaries or withdrawing affection, she is instinctively searching for your emotional resilience and strength. She wants to see if you can hold your ground without losing yourself, if you can remain calm and steady in the face of uncertainty or challenge. When she creates distance, she's looking for the man who doesn't panic or beg, but who remains confident in his value and presence. The man who panics at the first sign of emotional withdrawal, who rushes to soothe every doubt with reassurances, who clings out of fear. That man fails the test. Not because he lacks kindness or care, but because insecurity and neediness are glaring signals of weakness, and weakness is the enemy of attraction. Emotional stability is not about being unfeeling or cold. It's about having the strength to weather the storms of uncertainty without losing yourself or your sense of worth. It's about showing that you're someone who can be trusted to lead, to protect, and to be steady when things get complicated. This quiet strength builds a foundation of respect and desire that goes far deeper than superficial attraction. In short, the confident man who knows his worth, stands by his standards, and remains emotionally sovereign is the one who inspires true attraction. He isn't just someone she tolerates, he becomes someone she admires, desires, and ultimately chooses again and again. But the man who remains unshaken, who meets her mood swings, tests, and fluctuations with steady calm and unwavering presence, passes a powerful test that reaches far beyond conscious awareness. He demonstrates a trait more valuable than any other in the world of attraction: emotional sovereignty. This is the rare ability to stay centered and grounded regardless of external circumstances or emotional storms. This kind of emotional mastery is magnetic. It commands respect without demanding it. It inspires admiration without arrogance. When a woman senses that you are emotionally sovereign, she instinctively wants to earn your approval rather than take it for granted. Because deep down, every woman knows this simple truth: a man who cannot govern his own emotions is not someone she can trust to handle hers. This is why neediness isn't just unattractive, it's a glaring red flag. A man who orbits obsessively around a woman's world sends a loud message. He has no higher purpose, no ambitions beyond her, no life of his own. And no woman wants to be the center of a universe so small and so fragile. She wants to be part of a man's journey, not the entire destination. She wants to join someone who is already moving forward, someone who is driven by purpose, passion, and a vision bigger than momentary affection. The power dynamic shifts the moment you show that you are the one with a life to lead, one full of goals, challenges, and meaningful pursuits that demand your focus and energy. When you demonstrate that your emotional stability and personal mission come first, you become the prize, the one who others want to be part of, rather than the one chasing after approval. Your job isn't to convince her of your value, it's to live in such a way that your value is undeniable and self-evident. So how do you become the prize? First, by developing genuine substance, skills, passions, and ambitions that have nothing to do with women. When your life is rich and meaningful on its own, you become inherently attractive. Second, by setting clear boundaries that communicate self-respect and signal that you won't settle for less than you deserve. And third, and most crucially, by walking away the moment you start being treated as an option rather than a priority. This isn't about punishment or gamesmanship. It's the natural consequence of knowing your worth and refusing to compromise your standards. This final step is the key that flips the entire dynamic. Suddenly, she becomes the one proving herself to you. Understand this: the balance of power in any relationship isn't determined by who cares less, it's determined by who has more options. Not necessarily with other people, but with life itself. A man deeply immersed in meaningful work, surrounded by a strong brotherhood, and driven by an unshakable purpose will always hold the leverage, not because he's manipulative or controlling, but because he's complete, fulfilled, and whole with or without her. That completeness is magnetic. It's what makes her want to be part of your world, not the other way around. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. If this message resonated with you or gave you something to think about, please hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. I've got more real talk, growth, and power coming your way, so stay tuned. Also, I offer limited one-on-one coaching for anyone struggling with girls. If that's you, feel free to reach out. We can work through it together and get you results. Take care of yourself, keep rising, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.